So if you run a small sales team and you feel like you want to get more out of the team, or it's currently not operating as well as it could be or should be, I'm going to be documenting here things that I've learned, things that work for me. For context, my name is Ollie Coates. I run 2 marketing agencies that do around 200K a month in revenue. One agency is completely my own, and the other agency I have a business partner in. So the idea of this video is simply just for me. It's for me to be able to document the things that I've learned, and fundamentally lessons that I wish I'd known 12 months ago. And if I'd known them, I'd have made so much more money at the time. So I want to run you through all of the things that I'm finding that are working for me right now and the biggest lessons I've learned. So where I've been for the longest time is I've viewed myself as a pretty average sales team manager, but a very good sales coach. And the difference between that for me is the gap between that is accountability for your team. And I couldn't work out why I couldn't hold my team accountable, why they weren't hitting their projections, which is essentially the numbers that they say they're going to hit during that week, which I'll run through shortly in a second, and why they weren't actually hitting them. And I have a sales team coach, and my sales team coach, and this was something that was implemented more recently, where they said, why do you think they're not hitting their numbers? Like, you tell them that they need to hit their numbers, but they don't. And the problem was there was no consequence for not hitting their projections. And he said to me, why are you not having these difficult conversations? And my response was, well, I think I'm too nice. And he said, well, that's absolute bullshit, because I know that that's not true. Everyone says that. You're not the first person that said that to me. What is it? And fundamentally, what it came down to is I didn't want to have a difficult conversation with someone that I'd built a relationship with and trained up. So what it came down to for me is you can still have a great relationship with your team, but you have to have that edge. And when you have a small team, the thing that I ran into time and time again was that willingness to walk away. So if someone didn't hit their numbers, for me, it was like, oh, I don't want to have to get back on the phones. I don't want to have to start taking calls again. If your team subconsciously know that you don't want to get back on calls, they hold all the leverage and they hold all the power. It's like, hey, it doesn't matter if I don't hit my numbers. I'm not going to get fired because this guy doesn't want to get back on the phones. So a willingness to walk away, get back on the phones, or have a bench of salespeople ready to step in if someone drops the ball is the edge that you will have to help you manage your sales team more effectively. So the way I hold my team accountable is this. Every week we set projections, and the projections is the number that the team say they're going to hit. It's on you as the sales team manager to make sure that the number that they set is a number that's going to make you profitable, because it's far too easy for a closer or whatever to be like, I want to hit 10K this week, but you know you need to hit 20K this week to make sure that your ads are profitable. So the projections they set, it needs to be that they're going to hit these at least 80% of the time. You don't expect them to hit it every single week, because that means it's too low. It needs to be a point where they're going to have to stretch to hit their numbers. My rule is this: they must hit their projections 2 weeks in a row. If they miss projections 2 weeks in a row, we have to have the escalation process for what happens if they don't. So if they miss their projections 2 weeks in a row, you get on a call with them and have a verbal warning. Hey, this isn't working. Do we then go to a written warning where it's a formal, send them either a Slack message, email, whatever, however you communicate with your team, saying this is now the next step of the escalation, written warning. Then we go to a performance improvement plan where we work with them every single day and essentially micromanage them. And if they then, after another week, they don't hit their projections, it's termination. Now, the way we do this to be able to make sure that they have a chance to be able to get them back a step is if they hit 4 straight weeks of projections, they go back a step. So if they're on a written warning, they have to hit their projections 4 weeks in a row to be able to go back a step. So the way I do this as well to help them, if they miss their projections 1 week, especially if you've got one closer, right? They haven't got anyone to compete against. If you're a closer, or this is the way I do it, I'm not saying this is the way you should do it, but if they miss their projections by, say, $1,000, we can give them the option if we then add that extra 1,000 to next week's projection. If they miss 2 weeks in a row again, even with the clawback, we then escalate. And what I found was sales team would go from projections being like, oh, I really want to hit my projections, to I have to hit my projections. And I had a call with someone recently. We had a one-to-one, and it was the last day of the week. And I said, any final questions? And they were like, yeah, look, I just want to get on the phones because I need to hit my projections. The language changes, and guess what? That same day, hit their projections. So it's really, really important to have that accountability. It doesn't mean you need to be an asshole. And it doesn't mean that you need to be some like ruthless bastard to be able to get your team to hit their projection. There just needs to be a clear escalation path for if they miss. I look at it in this way, and this is where you have to have this hard conversation with yourself. There's two types of hard. You can either let your sales team underperform, make you less money, miss their projections, not follow the disciplinary stuff that you set. They need to submit their EODs. They need to hit a certain number of dials a day. They need to make a certain number of offers per week, whatever it is that you have as the standards in your sales team. So you can let them underperform and you make less money, or the other hard is be willing to get back on the phones, but again, you make more money because you're back on the phones until you find a replacement. So it's really, really important to understand that, like, which hard do you want? And then you have to pick. Because if you're willing to let your sales team underperform, you have to be willing to make less money if you don't want to get back on the phones. The next thing I look at then is just on the coaching side is daily coaching and meetings. So this is non-negotiable. Every single day we have an hour-long sales team meeting with our team where we drill the things that are most important. I like to do different things every single day. So I might divide it up into, say, 2 days of discovery, 2 days of pitching, 1 day of objection handling. What I typically do is it's almost like the 80-20 rule. So I want to focus the most attention on the area that needs the most work, but we don't want to negate the other areas that also still need work. So if your closer is struggling with objection handling and struggling to draw the line, we need to make sure we focus attention there, but we don't drop the ball on the discovery coaching. We need to keep each edge of the sword sharp. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to be as good as you need them to be consistently. And it's really funny. I decided 2 days ago that for the next 3 months, I'm going to dedicate myself to leveling up as a sales team manager. And consequently, the next day, one of my team decided that they hit their projections Monday to Thursday. So they hit their projections by Thursday. They decided Friday, they're just going to go and do what they want. And this person had a history of hitting their numbers, but not meeting the disciplinary standards or the core values of our team. And I'll share this on another video, but we actually, as a team, set our core values. Who are you and what type of people do we want to be on the team? And what happens if you don't hit the things that you say that you're going to hit week in, week out? And the very next day, they dropped the ball. I fired them, had no backup plan. I was potentially going to have to hit the phones again on Monday. But because I had a bench, I was able to reach out to someone that was on the bench and gave them the role the same day, and they're starting Monday. So these are just some of my learnings. I'm going to start documenting this week by week. This is one, to hold me accountable, also to make sure that I have learnings that I'm taking away every single week so I can come on this video, document them, and if anyone watches it and gets some value, awesome. But fundamentally, this is just for me to hold myself accountable. So I'm looking forward to looking back at this video in 3 months' time and seeing how far I've come.